Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to हेलो गाइस। तो फाइनली हम वापस आ गए और आज हम हमारे जॉनी डेप का आज ही रीडिंग है और मैं 2-3 दिन से फॉलो कर रहा हूँ। और उन्होंने वापस केस फेस किया है अपनी वाइफ पे। 50 मिलियन, समझ रहे हो कितने का? 50 मिलियन। और अभी कोर्ट हियरिंग चल रही है, उनकी ट्रायल चल रहा है, मीन्स लाइव है। तो लेट्स सी, देखते हैं क्या होता है। और पता नहीं मैं मतलब कितना दिखा पाऊँगा तुम लोग को, बट जितना भी दिखा पाऊँगा उतना ठीक है। गाने को थोड़ा स्लो कर देता हूँ। ओके, एंड इसको थोड़ा लाउड कर देता हूँ। हाँ, बाद में थोड़ा गेम वेम भी खेलेंगे, अभी नहीं। थोड़ा काम है मुझे, तो आप देखते भी रहो साथ में और ये भी करते रहो, मज़ा आएगा। ओके, तो अभी यहाँ से क्या करना है हमको? लाइव में जाना है। ओके, लाइव में जाके को कैप्चर ऑन करना है। ओके, विंडो कैप्चर, स्क्रीन कैप्चर, विंडो कैप्चर, राइट? विंडो कैप्चर करना है। विंडो कैप्चर किया, ऐड करना, ऑटोमेटिक स्ट्रीम विंडो सेटिंग। नहीं, ये नहीं। नहीं, हमको शायद से कुछ और करना है। नहीं, ये भी नहीं। ये हम डिलीट करेंगे। तुम लोग को फटाफट दिखाते हैं। विंडो, ओके ओके। विंडो कैप्चर तो हो गया, बट ऑटोमेटिक करना है ना हमको। नहीं, ये भी नहीं यार। विंडो कैप्चर या फिर सॉरी, थोड़ा गड़बड़ हो गया दोस्तों। देखना पड़ेगा अब क्या है। ब्राउजर, विंडो ब्राउजर, यस। ऑटोमेटिक नहीं है तो शायद से ये भी नहीं हो पाएगा। साला उस दिन कैसे किया था मैंने, मेरे को याद नहीं है ये सब। पहले से मेरे को ये सब कर लेना चाहिए, फिर ही स्टार्ट करना। फिर मैं सोचा लाओ, आज अच्छा मौका है, अच्छा चांस है, थोड़ा मान लेते हैं मौका। यही होता है शायद से यार, इसी पे होता है। बट शायद से ये ओपन कर लेना चाहिए। अरे ब्रेक हो गया गाइस, भी थोड़ा टाइम वाइम लगेगा। ब्रेक आ गया है, बट फिर भी हम ये देख लेते हैं एक बार है क्या सीन इसमें। ठीक है, ये हो गया, ये हो गया। अब आया डीजे साउथ वाइब पेज मोर। अब आया ना लाइन में। अब मारू। ओके गाइस, हो गया ऑलमोस्ट। इसको ज़रा देख लेते हैं। ठीक है, इसको बंद कर देते हैं। इसको थोड़ा, ये सारा सेटिंग करना ही यही सबसे थोड़ा जुल्म का काम है, पता है? यही सब तुम समझोगे नहीं, बट यही सबसे ज़्यादा जोल वाला काम है ही। तो गाइस, सब कुछ हो गया है मेरा भी सेटल। अभी जॉब सर्च कर रहा हूँ, ऑनलाइन सब जॉब्स देखी है, लेट्स सी भगवान क्या करता है। एक दो जगह रेज्यूम भी भेज दिया है कंपनी ने, बाद में देखा जाएगा क्या होगा। अरे ये नहीं रे बाबा, ये नहीं, ये चाहिए, ये भी नहीं, ये चाहिए। हाँ चलो ये हो गया, ये यहाँ जाएगा, हो गया, ऑलमोस्ट डन है गाइस। ओके ये खुल गया बराबर, ये बराबर, बट अभी चल रहा है ब्रेक, छोटा हो गया, ठीक है अभी चल रहा है ब्रेक। तो तब तक हम कुछ और देखते हैं, ठीक है इसी में कुछ और खोलते हैं, चलो। स्ट्रीम कर रहे हैं, इंग्लिश भी सीख रहा हूँ मैं, तो ये इंग्लिश भी चल रहा है ना, ब्रेक पे है अभी। सभी जगह लाइव है भाई ये तो। 4 बज गए, 4 बज गए, लेकिन डू नॉट से हाउ आर यू, डू नॉट से हाउ आर यू, सो हवैया ऐसा बोलते हैं, हवैया हवैया हवैया। हाउ आर यू मत बोलो, अबेदारी बोलो। हाउ आर यू गाइस, हाउस गोइंग ऑन। 4 बज गई, लेकिन पौड़ी अभी बाकी है, पौड़ी गिर गई लेकिन पौड़ी अभी बाकी है। तो गाइज मैं आप सबको एक थोड़ा सा इंफॉर्मेशन दे देता हूँ, छोटा सा है, ज़्यादा बड़ा नहीं है, ठीक है। तो बेसिकली मेरा एक डांस वर्कशॉप, वर्कशॉप ही बोल सकते हो, डांस वर्कशॉप जैसा है, एंड वो है 7 तारीख को 12 बजे, 7 को। एंड बेसिकली मैं बॉलीवुड फिटनेस कराने वाला हूँ वहाँ, बॉलीवुड डांस और फिटनेस। तो एनी वन इंटरेस्ट, सो जॉइन मी, मज़ा आएगा, मज़े करेंगे, बहुत मज़े करेंगे। हाँ हाँ, राजेश हो गए, कोशिश करने वालों की हार नहीं होती, मिल जाएगी जॉब। हाँ कनाडा में, कनाडा में यही सबसे बड़ा प्रॉब्लम है। कोई भी शिफ्ट हो रहा है या कोई भी आ रहा है, उन सबको मैं बोलना चाहता हूँ प्लीज़ मेंटली प्रिपेयर रहो ये सब चीज़ों के लिए, बिकॉज इजी नहीं है। आप जितना सोचते हो इतना इजी तो कुछ भी नहीं है। आपको मेंटली फिट होना ही पड़ेगा फर्स्ट में, उसके बाद ही। ठीक है चलो मैं एक चीज़ आपको समझा देता हूँ आज। तो मैं सोच रहा हूँ इसका एक अलग से लाइव बनाऊँ तो ज़्यादा अच्छा रहेगा, क्योंकि यहाँ पे लोग, आपको बहुत लोग प्रिफर करेंगे आ जाओ कनाडा, इजी इजी, यहाँ पे सब जल्दी मिल जाएगा एंड ब्ला ब्ला ब्ला, बहुत सारी चीज़ें, बट ऐसा नहीं है। आपको सपोर्ट चाहिए, आपके कॉन्टेक्ट्स होने चाहिए, एंड अच्छा इंग्लिश तो आना ही चाहिए, बोलना सबसे पहले, बोलना, समझना तो चलो बात की बात है, बोलना अगर आप अच्छे से नहीं बोल पाते हो तो भूल जाओ आपको कुछ भी मिले, बिकॉज सेम इशू मेरे साथ हो रहा है। तो अभी मैं समझ तो लेता हूँ, ठीक है, जो भी सामने वाला बोलता है आई अंडरस्टैंड प्रॉपरली, बट आई कांट स्पीक टू मच बिकॉज मेरे वर्ड्स मेरे पास नहीं है, मैं जो सोचता हूँ वो मैं बोल नहीं पाता, समझ रहे हो। इंग्लिश में, हिंदी में फुल्ली फाड़ के एकदम हिंदी बोल सकता हूँ, बट इंग्लिश इज़ वेरी डिफरेंट। तो इंग्लिश में बोलना मतलब हार्ड है। एंड यहाँ पे यही है कि आप अगर उनको इम्प्रेस कर दिया तो आपको बहुत सारी चीज़ें मिलेगी, अगर आप इम्प्रेस नहीं कर पाए तो भूल जाओ कि आपको लाइक वो लोग प्रिफेर भी करेंगे रखना। तो यही एक चीज़ है जो जिस चीज़ से मैं फेस कर रहा हूँ, एंड ये नॉर्मल है, ये सभी फेस करते हैं, ऐसा नहीं है सिर्फ मैं ही कर रहा हूँ, बहुत सारे लोग हैं जो फेस करना पड़ता है ये चीज़ों से। एंड ऐसा नहीं है सिर्फ इंग्लिश में ही है ये सब चीज़ें, बहुत सारी डिफरेंट डिफरेंट लैंग्वेज में भी है जहाँ आपको ये सारी चीज़ें फेस करनी पड़ेगी। एंड ऑब्वियसली ये है सभी जगह पे। तो मुझे कोई जल्दी नहीं है, जल्दी मिल जाएगी जॉब, आज नहीं तो कल, कल नहीं तो परसों, परसों नहीं तो नरसों, कभी ना कभी मिल ही जाएगी जॉब हम लोग, एंड वेट कर रहे, बट मिल जाएगी, जैसे भी मिलेगी मिल जाएगी। तो लेट्स सी क्या होता है, क्योंकि हम हमारा बेस्ट दे रहे, एंड जल्द ही भगवान की दुआ से सब सही हो जाए। एंड अभी तो फ़िलहाल अपने पास एक जॉब तो है, ऐसा बोल सकता हूँ मैं, जहाँ से हम थोड़ा बहुत अर्न कर सकते हैं, मतलब कमाई हो सकती है, बट फुल टाइम नहीं है, तो इसकी वजह से क्या थोड़ा सा टेंशन है। फुल टाइम हो जाएगा जॉब तो ज़्यादा बेटर रहेगा, क्योंकि लेट्स सी। कभी कभी समझ में नहीं आता क्या करें। आज मैं एक वीडियो देख रहा था, उसमें ऐसी ऐसी चीज़ें दिखा रहे हैं कि कुछ समझ नहीं, खाने का मन नहीं कर। टी बैग, टी बैग में भी हम्म। क्या किट, माय गॉड। ओके, स्लोली स्लोली सब लाइक कर रहे हैं, होपफुली सब सब हो जाए सेट। वैसे मुझे लगता नहीं है आज इनका ये टाइम ख़त्म होगा, टाइटल शायद से चेंज कर लेना चाहिए। इनका लगता नहीं है आज हो पाएगा। कॉपी कभी कुछ समझ में नहीं आता। हमने तो कुछ ऐसा कुछ किया ही नहीं है। लिमिटेड हो गया बोलो। ये यूट्यूब भी कभी कभी है ना पागल है, पागल हो जाता है रे बाबा। यूट्यूब पगला गया है दोस्तों, यूट्यूब पगला गया है। Okay. Download desktop picture. Yeah, just chatting. Just chatting है बाबा। अरे आ गया रे इनका कोट हियरिंग का।
Friday from 7 or 8 a.m. till the end of play each evening, early evening usually.
Why were you at the house that Sunday?
I was called to the house by one of Mr. Depp's assistants.
And about what time did you arrive at the house?
Around 2 o'clock, 2:30.
Who was there when you arrived?
Debbie Lloyd was there. David Kipper was there. Amber Heard was there. Jerry Judge was there.
And I think by now probably everybody's familiar, but can you just very quickly say who those people are?
Sure. Debbie Lloyd was a nurse. David Kipper was Dr. David Kipper. Miss Heard was Miss Heard, and Jerry Judge was head of security.
And when you arrived at the house on Sunday, March 8th, 2015, what did you do?
I just parked up and went into the house.
What did you do?
And did you observe anything when you went into the house?
Anything?
Yeah, I mean, initially I walked into the front door. Initially I heard, rather than saw anything, I could hear pretty hysterical sobbing, crying, which sounded like Miss Heard to me. I heard Jerry Judge's voice. There's a few steps as you go up into the house, so you can't immediately see what's going on. But so I went up the steps. I could see then Miss Heard over on the right-hand side, over towards the TV room with Jerry Judge. David Kipper was in the kitchen area, which was pretty much directly ahead as you walk up those steps.
And were you able to visually see Miss Heard?
Yes.
And you were able to hear her as well?
Absolutely.
How would you describe her demeanor?
Hysterical, probably the best way to describe it. Crying a lot, and just crying uncontrollably. I think it's fair to say.
And how would you describe Jerry Judge's demeanor when he was speaking with her?
He was just keeping her calm, saying, "It's all right, love. It will be all right." Jerry was good, like, he had a big heart. Jerry, he's a good guy. He was calm. Jerry was always calm. Well, mostly.
And what did you do next?
I saw they were engaged across away there, so I went into the main kitchen area, which, as I said, was just directly ahead of those main steps, and spoke to David Kipper.
And following that conversation, what did you do?
Well, he told me that Mr. Depp had...
Objection, hearsay.
All right.
Your Honor, it's, well, maybe we approach.
Okay.
मुंबई सारी हार गई क्या? सारी मैच हैं? मुंबई सारी मैच हार गई? मेरी फेवरेट टीम है वैसे. चलो चेक करते हैं. 2020 पॉइंट टेबल. आठों आठ हार गई. ओ माय गॉड. चेन्नई 2 ही जीता. गुजरात एक ही हारा है, बाकी सारी जीत गए. ओ माय गॉड, गुजरात will go ऊपर.
So you can answer the question. What did you do next?
So I spoke to David Kipper, who was in the kitchen area, seemingly rummaging through a bin. He said that Mr. Depp had sustained an injury to his finger, one of his fingers, and he was looking for the fingertip that it said it had been severed. So I said, well, shall I help you? You know, as one would. And he said, yeah, that would be a good idea. I left him in the kitchen. He said there was a lot more damage downstairs. So I went to, we split up. He left him in the kitchen. I went downstairs to search.
At some point, was Mr. Depp's fingertip found?
Yes,
Who found it?
I did.
And where did you find it?
Thank you.
Downstairs in the bar area, the games room bar area.
Super chat.
So can you walk us through how you found it?
Yes, so I walked down the stairs. There was a bit of damage down the steps. That a big chunk had been taken out of the marble staircase. On my way down, remnants of what looked like a plant pot or something around it smashed. Walking down into the bar, I could see the damage that Dr. Kipper had told me about. A broken ping pong table sort of collapsed onto the floor, and lots of broken glass and cans strewn around the bar area.
And where exactly was the finger in the bar area?
Directly below the bar. The bar was set up like a conventional bar that stuck out from a wall, and with a marble top. There's a big chunk out of that as well, like on the staircase. Directly at the end of the bar, there was a scrunched up piece of kitchen paper, if you like, tissue, with lots of blood on it. So I thought that was probably a pretty good place to look. And it was within that scrunched up piece of paper on the tiled floor at the end of the bar, the base of the bar, by one of the bar stools.
Thank you यार. मैं भी इमोशनल हो रहा हूँ क्या?
Was there any property damage around the finger?
Yes, a fair bit. On the floor around the area, there were puddles of what smelt like alcohol to me. Seemed like several drinking glasses, a couple of bottles. One was a Stolichnaya vodka bottle. And at the end of the bar, as I said, there was a big chunk out of the bar itself, the bar marble top. At the end of the bar, there was plaster damage right at the end of the bar on the wall. Behind the bar, smashed and cracked mirror. There's a blue mirror that stretched that whole span of behind the bar. Lots of cans again behind the bar on the floor. broken window at the end of the bar and more plastered work damage on the wall above the sink. It was sort of a kitchenette bar, if you like, as well.
You mentioned a bottle of vodka. Was the vodka bottle intact?
No. No, nothing was really intact. The top of it, you know, the top of a bottle was like, it had a label on it, which is how I knew it was a Stolichnaya bottle. It had that sort of squiggly S, sort of yellow top. There was a large chunk of a bottle, which I guess was the rest of that, and several other, I mean, lots of other broken glass around the area.
After you found the fingertip in the bar area, what did you do next?
Well, I gathered it up in that kitchen paper and sort of took it upstairs. I might have shouted up to David Kipper, I found it. I'm not sure, but I walked back upstairs to the kitchen and got a bag, you know, little plastic bag, put the fingertip in there, set it on top of some ice in this plastic kitchen container, and pretty much handed it over to David Kipper and Jerry Judge, I think at the time, who were keen to get it to the hospital quickly to see if it could be reattached.
Do you recall about what time you found Mr. Depp's finger in the bar area?
It was about an hour after I got there, so it would have been around 3:30, I would think, 3:20, 3:30.
Now, you've told us a little bit about the state the house was in when you arrived.
Yes.
Can you generally describe for us, and maybe go level by level through the house, what damage you observed?
Sure. Do you want me to start at the lower ground floor in that bar area? I mean, I've described a lot of that.
Sure, that's fine.
It was pretty extensive down there, all that broken glass, the blood. There were a lot of blood drips across that floor. It was a kind of cream-colored
अरे
tile floor
मैंने
in that
वॉल्यूम कम
games
किया हुआ
area.
है
As I said, the
माइक्रोफोन
ping
का,
pong table was
इसीलिए शायद वॉल्यूम
collapsed.
नहीं सुनाई दे रहा,
Blood drips
बट मैंने यहाँ
across
से
the
कम
floor
किया था
and around the bar.
क्योंकि फिर मैं इसका नहीं सुन
And
पाऊंगा.
the damage on the walls, as I said,
But
the plaster
thank you
work
राजेश
at the end of the
for
bar,
40
behind the bar.
रुपीज. मेरा लाइफ का पहला
And
सुपर चैट 20 रुपीज भी
the
तूने
chunk
किया
out of
था,
the marble
उसके
top.
बाद 40 रुपीज तूने किया
So on
सेकंड
the ground,
सुपर
that was
चैट
the predominant damage in
मेरी
that
लाइफ का,
area.
एंड अभी
on
थर्ड
that
भी तू ही
level.
करेगा, मुझे
On
ऐसा
the
लगा.
next floor, on the main floor where David Kipper was.
ज़्यादा करेगा फिर.
In,
So thank
be it
you
in the kitchen
and
itself,
thank you for
again,
appreciate
a few broken glasses and
appreciate
cans
me,
on the floor,
my work,
soda cans behind the
and thank you.
kitchen island, the
तू
chef's
ही
kitchen
है जो
island,
देखता है.
liquid sort of puddles.
बाकी सेकंड व्यू भी आ गया है,
There
शायद
was a
से मेरी वाइफ
sitting
भी
room
देख
with a
रही है.
couch on a
बाबा,
cream-coloured couch, which had
I'm
a fair amount
learning
of blood
English, पापा.
drips on the cushions, and that was obvious. The TV, which was directly in front of that wall-mounted TV, was cracked with, it seemed like
बस क्या, I love
remnants of a
you.
coffee cup embedded
I
in
love you,
some
love
of
you,
it,
मेरी
and the
जान.
rest was below, looked like coffee splattered behind and
Thank you,
underneath,
thank you for everything,
TV.
राजेश.
and on the floor as
ये
well.
प्यार के लिए.
Through
मेरा
there,
सुपर
we set up an art
चैट.
studio.
आज मेरी वाइफ बहुत खुश होगी
So
कि
a
मुझे
lot of the
सुपर
art
चैट आई है.
materials from that, paintbrushes, paint, various art materials were on the floor.
भाई बहुत
A lot of
डीप से
paint on the
समझा रहा
floor.
है ये. पूरा एक
Blood
एक डिटेल
drips
में like,
throughout that
मेरे को
area
ऐसा
as
कोर्ट में
well.
बिठा दिया ना और ऐसा
Especially
बोलने को
over
बोला,
the-
मैं कुछ नहीं
there's a
बोल पाऊंगा.
vast sort of wooden parquet floor.
वो
with a
ऐसा
lot of
था
oil paint
and
and
ऐसा
blood
था
drips.
जज, वो कौन सा कलर था मेरे को
up to the
एग्जैक्टली तो याद
staircase.
नहीं है,
In one of the
कुछ तो
bedrooms,
था.
there were two bedrooms off of
ये
the
सब
main
चीजें
kitchen
अपने
area.
काम की
One
नहीं
of
है.
those bedrooms
हम ऐसी चीजों में
had
फंस गए तो गए.
blood drips on the duvet, and a lamp
वैसे आज
had
तक इतना 32
seemingly been
एज हो गई
broken.
मेरी, 31
The
सॉरी
shade was removed.
31 एज हो गई. आज तक कुछ ऐसा किया नहीं है
There
जिससे
were
हमको
a
जेल
couple of
जाना पड़े.
lampshades in that
या
in
हमने
the
इतना बड़ा कोई क्राइम
art
किया
studio
नहीं है.
area.
क्राइम छोटे मोटे किए होंगे,
the
याद
floor.
नहीं है. छोटे मोटे जिससे क्राइम
That
नहीं
was
बोल
about the
सकते.
extent of the damage.
Oh,
Going up
Johnny,
the stairs to the next level, there was
तो कुछ भी स्मार्ट
a
कुछ भी
few blood smears on the wall and on the drips of the stairs going up. Again, a cream-colored carpet, which is not ideal. And so that's the top floor was the master bedroom, master suite floor,
Okay.
and two bedrooms also up there.
Okay.
Outside the master bedroom, there was damage to the plaster work on a pillar outside
डिटेल में याद है
on
भाई
the wall. Blood drips into the master bedroom, across the master bedroom floor,
याद है भाई साहब
going into the master bathroom.
50 million का
there was-
definition
There was a his and hers sinks and a mirror, a large mirror above each of the sinks that had writing on each of them.
केस किया है
Again, that one of the
The
bedrooms, or
ex-wife.
both of the bedrooms, I think, had blood on the duvet covers, and another lamp was broken.
केस किया
Mr. Depp's guitar was in one of those
Oh my
bedrooms,
God.
a blood-stained guitar.
लाइफ में नहीं देख पाऊंगा
His iPad was standing up on
मिलियन देख लूंगा तो भी बहुत
one
है
of the
मेरे लिए
beds.
50 मिलियन का
in one of
केस
those
किया है
bedrooms.
50 मिलियन
That's about the extent of it
That's the damage you
on
remember?
each level. Yeah.
Whose job was it to clean all that up?
That was mine. That was mine. My responsibility. The house was essentially my responsibility.
So were you familiar with the damage generally throughout the house?
I got a pretty good idea as I walked around and saw it all, yes.
Did you observe any damaged phones?
No.
Did you observe any damage to a wall where a phone might have been ripped off the wall?
No.
Bleeding.
Oh,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Maybe the next one.
Was there any artwork in this house? Decorating the house?
The owners had left their art in the house, yes. Mr. Depp and Miss Heard had done some artwork themselves, yes. But, yes, there was some that came with the house, if you like.
Focusing just on the artwork that came with the house, did you observe any damage to any of that?
No, nothing that I needed to repair or replace. Certainly not. Thank goodness.
Is there any other damage that comes to mind?
Just a lot of blood, a lot of repairs. The floor, as I said, was quite heavily with blood and paint. Yeah.
And in terms of bodily fluids, it was just blood that you observed, no urine or anything else?
Yes,
All
absolutely.
right, I'll sustain
fine.
I'll strike the answer from the record.
So- No other damage. Does any other damage come to mind?
No.
Can we take a look at Defendant's Exhibit 375, which I believe is already in evidence, and push this to the jury?
Okay.
राजेश तीसरा भी आज ही कर दिया तूने आज नहीं करना था यार
Mr. King, are you familiar with the image that's on the screen in front of you?
Yes, it's one of the mirrors I was telling you about in the master
आज
bathroom.
नहीं करना था कल करना था
And so, were you involved in cleaning any of this up?
I cleaned both of
तूने
those
आज ही कर
mirrors
दिया वो
at
विले
some point that evening, that night. Yes.
Were you able to tell
Evidence,
what was
दिखा रहा है
used,
evidence.
or what substance I guess what sort of the ink is that's used on the black writing there?
That was the same oil paint that was on the floor, on the parquet floor downstairs and various other places. It was the same oil paint.
Thank you Rajesh thank you
All right,
so
how about
much
the
for
red writing that
60
says,
rupees
Call Carly Simon.
It's
She said it better, babe.
बहुत
Were
है
you
मेरे
able to
लिए
tell
and
what was
thank
used
you
to make
Rajesh
that
thank you
writing?
for
Lipstick, I believe.
because I appreciate my brother and I appreciate
He's testified that he was
love.
cleaning it up.
I'll allow it.
everything.
It's fine. Go ahead.
It certainly
Push
seemed like
मैंने भाई
lipstick to
मेरे
me, red
push।
lipstick. It was quite waxy. I
तू
remember
एक ही है
taking that
जो
off.
हमको पूरा
It
इस
seemed like
चैनल पे
lipstick.
सपोर्ट करता है
Okay,
मुझे
we
नहीं
can take
पता
that
ये
down.
चैनल पे कब 2000 3000 या मिलियन पे
Mr. King,
व्यू
about
जाएंगे
how
पता नहीं
long were
कभी
you at the house
आई डोंट नो
on that Sunday?
बट तू हमेशा
Quite a long
दिल
time.
में रहेगा मेरे भाई, क्योंकि तूने
It
पहला
actually went into
चेक
the
किया
early
दूसरा भी
hours
तूने
of
किया
Monday
और
morning, so
अभी तीसरा भी
at
तूने
least
किया
I got there around
अभी
2
तो
in the
धीरे धीरे 2
afternoon of
व्यूज
Sunday.
3 व्यूज हो रहे हैं
I don't think
एक
I
दिन
left there
आएंगे
until
हम भी
2 or 3
500
o'clock
600
the next
700
morning
800
of the
1000
night.
व्यूज पे है ना
Over the course of the time that you were
denied
there
maybe.
that day, Did you
ये
have any
ये केस मुझे
interactions with
बहुत
Ms. Heard?
इंटरेस्टिंग लगा और इंग्लिश में
Yes,
बोलते
I
हैं ना
certainly
तो
did.
Can you
Yes.
describe those for us, please?
सीखना भी हो जाता है
Yes, not too much initially. She was very, as I said, quite hysterical and crying a lot, and Jerry Judge was taking care of her, keeping her calm. Later in the evening, it was suggested that Miss Heard go to a local hotel,
भूल नहीं गया हूँ
to leave the house, go to a local hotel, which
टेंशन
then became a suggestion that she
कुछ
go
आता
back to LA.
नहीं
And that's, I think, when I started interacting in terms of, at some point, I
Thank you,
volunteered
Rajesh.
to travel with her to
Yeah.
LA.
ये वाइफ थी उसकी थी
How did Ms. Heard respond to
बट
the
इसकी
suggestion
लगने वाली है
that she
बेचारी
leave,
क्योंकि इसका
Los
एक्वामैन भी आ रहा है
An-
मूवी
leave
अभी
for Los Angeles?
She was resistant to both of those suggestions, very resistant. She really didn't want to go and
अब
said,
वो
"I
खतरे में
can't
है
leave,
इसकी
I can't
एक्वामैन
leave. You know, it'll be the end if I leave."
क्योंकि
Those sorts of
जब
things. And so it
उसकी
was
एक्स
just,
वाइफ ने उस
these
पे
went
केस
over
किया
a few hours.
जॉनी डेप को मतलब
those
बहुत बैकलैश बहुत
negotiations, if you
मिला
like.
डिज्नी एंड बहुत सारी
and
कंपनियों ने उसके
eventually
साथ कॉन्ट्रैक्ट भी तोड़ा
Miss Heard agreed that I would fly with her.
तो प्रॉब्लम तो
And
बहुत
did
हुआ
you in
बेचारे को
fact fly with
नुकसान
her?
बहुत हुए
I did on Monday the 9th.
Okay.
अभी
Sticking with Sunday, when you were interacting with her on that Sunday, how close were you to her?
Very close, you know, like very close in front of her.
And do you recall observing any injuries on
लगने
Ms. Heard?
वाली है बेचारी की
No, none whatsoever.
यही
Did you notice anything
लाइफ
unusual
में
about her physically at all?
No,
कितना
I
फेम
mean, she was
हासिल
obviously
कर लो
crying a
लास्ट
lot,
में
she had
आपको
red
आना
eyes,
चाहिए।
and, but no, otherwise no.
इससे मुझे भी थोड़ी प्रैक्टिस चालू करनी पड़ेगी क्योंकि
So what happened the following day,
हमारा
that
भी
Monday,
fitness class
March
है।
9th, I guess it would be,
नहीं तो
2015?
हमारी
Right,
लग जाएगी
so-
बॉडी के
I mean, it was eventually agreed that I would fly with Miss Heard, so I
को जाना
I
है
had to
फिफ्थ
at
में
some
को
point
जाना
go
है
back to my
लर्निंग
apartment,
के लिए
drive to my apartment
5
to
बजे
pick up
रिमाइंडर
my
लिख देता हूँ
passport,
भाई
which, funnily enough, I hadn't brought with me,
तो
and some clothes, you know, a bag to take. So I think I left the house early hours, as I said, 2, 3, may have been a bit later, a.m. I drove back to my apartment, which was 30 minutes drive south. Picked up those things.
Eid holiday
I mean, I didn't know how long I was going to go for, but I knew I was traveling. So passport, quick shower, pick up a bag of clothes, and I drove back up to the house. I don't recall exactly what time I arrived there, but I know we had to leave. All the arrangements were being made by the travel agent, and Jerry Judge was liaising with them to make the flight arrangements, and which I believe was going mid to late morning. So I think we had to leave the house around 7 or 8 a.m. that morning,
Go ahead.
Monday the 9th.
And did you travel to the airport with Ms. Heard?
Yes, we were driven.
How would you describe her
holiday.
demeanor that morning?
Calmed down a fair bit. She was mostly on the phone, to be honest,
अच्छा
for
मेरा
pretty much
कैलेंडर
the
उसमें
whole
आ
of that
रहा
car
है
journey to
इससे।
various people, one of which I believe was Mr. Depp.
Do you recall her saying anything on the ride to the airport about what had happened the night prior?
Nothing really mentioned in that as way of an explanation, no.
What happened when you got to the airport, if anything?
We were running a bit
Okay,
late,
no.
but I remember that.
मैं फिफ्थ
Luckily, we were
को
traveling first class, so the driver knew to pull up to a kind of VIP, for want of a better word, VIP check-in point.
no.
And so the car got pretty close to where the desk was. Miss Heard was still on the phone, and so we sat there for a bit with the driver, and Miss Heard was talking. I don't know who to at that point. And I was thinking, we need to make this flight actually pretty soon because we were already running a bit late. So I decided to go in. Maybe I can go in, check in our bags ahead,
मैं
and
फिफ्थ
then come back and get Miss Heard. She should be finished by then, which is what I did.
Learning.
Did you eventually get on the plane?
Eventually, we did. It was a close call, to be honest.
English language learning.
Once you were on the plane,
Plus.
did you have any conversations with Miss Heard?
Yes, I mean, not initially, which took some time in the bathroom. She was on the phone again to the point where the cabin crew had to sort of tap on the door and say, we need to leave now. Everybody needs to sit down. And she did come to sit down, after 10 or 15 minutes in there. And so eventually, and luckily, as I said, we were flying first class, which was lovely. She was in the window seat, like I think it was 1A, 1B window seat. I had the aisle seat. And finally, we could both sit down and, in way of conversation, wasn't a great deal, to be honest. I did sort of say finally. So what happened? Obviously referring to the house. And, I mean, she didn't give much explanation, if any. She did say, Ben, have you ever been so angry with someone you just lost it with them? And I sort of said, no, actually, I'm pretty calm, even-tempered guy. But she did repeat it. She looked pretty incredulous that I hadn't, and she repeated it. You mean you've never lost it with somebody, got so angry with someone you just lost it with them? And I said, no, unless you count the sort of time when I was 14 years old and I hit the light switch in my bedroom because I wasn't allowed out that night or something. With a person, no, never. And that was pretty much the end of the conversation. She dropped it then.
Pretty much end of
How would you describe her tone when she asked those questions of you?
To me, incredulous, would be fair to say. Surprised that I hadn't lost it with somebody.
Should I attach this?
Does anything else stand out about that flight?
No.
It was fairly calm. After that, it was calm. But I mean, we were both
Yes,
exhausted.
calm.
I certainly was, and I think I can't remember eating either. Just slept most of the flight until obviously we landed, or were close to landing.
At any point, did you observe anything about Miss Heard physically on that flight?
Yes, I did. Right toward just before we landed, I noticed some marks on her arm, her left forearm.
How would you describe those?
Long, kind of uniform, evenly spaced, sort of long, thin marks. Very uniform, in fact.
And when did you first notice those?
On the plane towards coming into land, we're gathering the stuff up. I noticed them then.
What did you do after you landed in Los Angeles?
Once I'd fired up my phone on landing, I saw the arrangements that we would be picked up by one of Mr. Depp's security personnel, who I think was Travis McGivern. So I made contact with him, and he met us in the place that had been arranged. We walked through the arrivals lounge and met him at the end of that. Got in the car with him and drove to the Eastern Columbia building.
And how would you describe Miss Heard's demeanor in Los Angeles?
Yeah, pretty calm. I mean, she seemed, obviously a lot calmer from the house, but she pleasant towards Travis, certainly in the car. Obviously, they knew each other. When we got to the building, she was kind enough to show me around the apartment. I'd never been before. She showed me around the penthouse, a little tour. She wrote down some restaurants recommendations because she knew I'd be staying a few days, probably. So, and I don't really know LA that well. So she recommended a few restaurants. And then I left. I said, if you need anything, as usual, as I always did, need anything, give me a shout. I'll be staying fairly close by. Just give me a call or a text.
How long were you in LA?
Less than a week. I think I flew back to Australia on the 14th or 15th. So about 5 days, 6 days tops.
And when you got back to Australia, what were you doing?
Pretty much putting the house back together, repairing all the damage with the help of professional contracted vendors I brought in, and just getting the house back as it was originally.
At some point, did Mr. Depp and Ms. Heard return to Australia?
Yes, they did.
Were you there when they returned?
Yes.
Did you observe them interacting with each other after they came back to Australia?
Yes, yeah.
And how would you describe their interactions?
Again, initially, those first few days were certainly very pleasant, almost honeymoon-like, I would say. It strolled around the grounds a bit, and they seemed fine with each other.
Did you ever observe any arguments after they returned?
Yes. I mean, many.
I mean,
Several more, yeah.
and how would you describe those?
Not dissimilar to the London arguments in terms of the pattern of those, the sort of provocation and the reaction that leave the room, Mr. Depp leaving room, going to another room, playing his guitar, seemed to follow the same pattern as that, as I witnessed those 2 times in London.
All right. Nothing further.
All right, cross-examination.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
To understand your testimony, is it your testimony that Amber and Mr. Depp arrived together in Australia in February of 2015?
Initially, together I don't think so. I think Mr. Depp arrived ahead of Miss
Right,
Heard,
Mr.
actually.
Mr. Depp arrived first, correct?
I think so, yeah.
And isn't it true that Ms. Heard, Amber didn't arrive until March 5th, 2015 to Australia?
I can't remember the date she arrived, to be honest.
But she could have arrived March 5th, 2015. Isn't that true?
Objection, foundation, speculation.
I'll allow it if you can answer it.
Sorry, what was the question?
Ms. Heard could have arrived on March 5th, 2015, correct?
It's possible, I suppose.
And isn't it true then that you didn't see any arguments between Ms. Heard and Mr. Depp before the injury that occurred to Mr. Depp's finger in Australia?
I saw them argue.
You saw them
Yes.
argue when they came back, when they came back in April, correct?
I certainly saw them argue in April and through most of the months they were there, yes.
But you don't remember, you can't recall any arguments in February or March of 2015 between Ms. Heard and Mr. Depp, correct?
Specific days? Not necessarily, no.
Right, so that you don't know, you can't say that there were any arguments before you came to the house on March 8th, 2015, correct?
I think there were. I mean,
Excuse me, say that again?
I think there were.
But you don't even know when she arrived, correct?
Specifically, the day, not necessarily, no.
Okay. And you said when you arrived at the house on March 8th, when you eventually found the finger, it was wrapped in paper, is that right?
Wrapped, I mean, it was loosely wrapped. The paper was opened by that point. The blood had dried up, and it was sitting in the sort of nest of this paper, yes.
So like someone had put the finger in a piece of paper?
I don't know. I mean, it was in that piece of paper.
It was in a piece of paper, okay. So, but again, like someone had wrapped it up, is that right?
I don't know. It was within that scrunched up piece of paper, kitchen paper, tissue.
So it was in kitchen paper, is that right?
Or tissue paper. It was white with a lot of blood on it,
So like a paper towel?
like a piece of kitchen towel.
When you
Kitchen
say
paper.
kitchen towel, our language is made, even though we both speak English, I may say a little different. It's like a paper towel?
Yeah, like kitchen paper, kitchen towel. Yes,
Okay.
like a tissue.
And was there that sort of paper towel in the kitchen at the house at the time?
Yes, in both areas, the kitchen and the bar.
You said you were in Australia starting in February of 2015, correct?
Correct. I arrived on the 4th of February.
And Mr. Depp arrived sometime after that, is that right?
Correct.
Okay. Did you see Marilyn Manson while you were there?
बेचारे के साथ
No,
मेरे
I-
जैसा
You don't know if
किचन
Mr.
पेपर
Depp was with
किचन
Marilyn
टॉवल या
Manson
हमारी
in
इंग्लिश बहुत
late
अलग
February, early March 2015?
Objection,
I
foundation,
didn't-
speculation, relevance.
I'm just asking if he saw, he said he saw, he said he saw him every day, so I was asking if he saw.
I'll allow the question if you can answer it, that's fine.
Marilyn Manson didn't come to the house.
And
I didn't see him at any point.
do you know if Mr. Depp left to be with Marilyn Manson?
I don't know. I didn't always know where he was going. If he went out, it was either to work or the security would go with. I wouldn't generally go. In fact, I don't think I went out with him at all in Australia.
And there, you didn't go out with Mr. Depp at all when he was in Australia, correct?
I don't recall it. I saw him on set once or twice. Yeah.
So you don't know what Mr. Depp was doing in Australia unless you saw him at the house or on set, is that right?
I saw him at the house. Yes, every day.
But you don't know what Mr. Depp was doing when he left the house, correct?
Generally going to work on Pirates of the Caribbean 5
Were
filming.
you-
Yes.
But were you with him?
No, but the security with him, and I had to liaise with him for when he would go and when he would come back for the driver, etc.
But you weren't there. You weren't there when Mr. Depp left the house, correct?
Generally, I didn't go, didn't leave the house with Mr. Depp on those days. No.
And I just want to make sure, I want to be clear. There were two kind of periods that Mr. Depp was in Australia in 2015, right?
Sorry, say again.
Mr. Depp was in Australia from sometime in February 2015 until about March 8th, March 9th, when he injured his finger. Is that right?
Correct. Yeah.
And then Mr. Depp left Australia too, correct?
At some point, he flew to LA. Yes.
And then Mr. Depp returned to Australia on April 21st, right? 2015.
Okay, that sounds about that time. I don't know the specific date. I don't recall.
And the filming of Pirates of the Caribbean 5 continued filming on April 21st, right?
Objection,
That I-
foundation, speculation.
I didn't get. Oh,
So,
sorry.
His objection,
You recall testifying to that in the UK?
I'll open
Which
the
bit,
objection
sorry?
if you can answer it.
That the filming of Pirates of the Caribbean 5 continued filming on April 21st, 2015.
I wasn't involved in the filming schedule. I didn't know when it resumed, to be honest. I knew Mr. Depp would come back to resume filming, for sure.
You didn't live with Mr. Depp in his house in Australia, correct?
Live with? No, I wasn't resident there.
Now, when you arrived at the house, you saw a significant amount of damage, correct?
Yes, through the course of, after I arrived, yeah.
Okay. And the scene was chaos, correct?
Chaos, I mean, there was a fair amount of damage.
The house was wrecked,
There was a lot of damage in the house, yes.
and the house was not in a good state, correct?
Asked and
There
answered.
was a lot of damage throughout the
You
house.
gotta object first, and then you have your objection,
Yeah.
Mr. Moses.
Objection,
Stand, and it
yeah.
helps. Okay. I'll overrule the objection. Go ahead. Next question.
And you said there was glass on the floor, correct?
In a few areas, mainly predominantly in the bar, yes. Down in the lower ground floor, correct.
Okay, and there was blood on the walls, correct?
In various places, blood on the floor, blood on the walls.
And there was blood on the walls throughout the 3 stories of the house, isn't that right?
No, I wouldn't say that was the extent of it. There were smears up the staircase going up to the master from the main level. There were smears and drips on the carpet.
So there were smears from the master level up to the bedroom area? I mean, from the main level up to the bedroom area, is that right?
Up to the 3rd floor, yes.
Like someone had walked from the main floor up to the bedroom floor, correct?
There was blood going up the steps, up on the staircase, and some on the walls, smears where you might have done that.
As if someone was walking from the main level up to the master bedroom, correct? Is that what the blood was like?
Yeah, maybe, I don't know.
Okay.
Or down. I mean,
Up or
there was
down, but
blood
from the
on
main
that
level to
staircase.
from the main level to the 3rd floor, correct?
Correct, yes.
And you said the sofas were damaged, is that right?
One sofa in that sitting room, which was just off the kitchen, was quite an open plan thing. So off that, there was a sofa with a large TV on the wall-mounted TV in front of that sofa.
And the sofa was on the main level, correct?
Correct, just by the main kitchen, exactly.
And where the sofa was damaged, was that with what?
Blood.
Blood. Okay. And lights were damaged?
Some lamps, a couple of lamps, yes.
And there were bottles of alcohol in and out of the fridge, correct?
Sorry, what do you mean?
Did you see bottles of alcohol in and out of the fridge?
Yes, I mean, there was. I don't completely understand what you mean.
You saw that, correct?
There was alcohol bottled. Yes, there was in the fridge. I mean, there may have been a bottle of wine. I don't know.
And the floors were ruined, correct?
Ruined. I mean, there was a lot of damage on the floor, down in the bar area and the staircase, and on the main floor area, on the wooden parquet floor. Correct.
And the floors were going to have to be sanded, correct?
I eventually got them sanded. Yes.
Okay. And it took, you were there, I think you testified, it took you about 12 to 13 hours in the house cleaning up, correct?
Correct.
And you said that there was, is it your testimony that you didn't see any of the paintings damaged?
The existing paintings from the owners from the house no, none of them were damaged.
You didn't see any paintings with a painting of a penis drawn on it?
I did not, and thankfully that was something I didn't have to replace.
Do you know if anyone else
any
saw
painting.
Objection, speculation.
I mean, I would have seen it.
There's objection. Mr. King, you
I'm
just
so
need to
sorry.
stop. That's all
I'm
right.
sorry.
All right, if you stand, we can see you better when you do that.
Understood. Your Honor.
Okay, I'll sustain the objection. Next question.
Okay. And you said that Jerry Judge was at the house, correct?
Correct.
And he's the head of Mr. Depp's security, correct?
Correct.
And Dr. Kipper was at the house?
Yes, he was.
And Debbie Lloyd was at the house as well, correct?
Yes, she was.
Okay. Now, you understood that Mr. Judge saw scratches on Ms. Heard on March 8th, correct?
Objection, hearsay, speculation, foundation.
All right. I'll sustain the objection. Next question.
Did you have, the cleaning lady was going to be coming to the house, correct?
The housekeeper,
Yes, the housekeeper.
Adele, the resident housekeeper. Yes, she was going to be. I mean, yes, she was employed through the week again. She wasn't there on weekends.
There was concern about the cleaning lady coming to the house and seeing everything that was in the house, correct?
Objection, speculation, foundation, vague.
I'll allow it if you can answer it. You can answer it.
Thank you. Concern.
ये भाई को एक ही सवाल को घुमा फिर
There was
के
concern
इतनी
about
बार
the cleaning
पूछ रहा
lady
है
coming
नहीं
to the house and seeing all the
ये
damage
समझ में नहीं आ रहा है
that had been done, correct?
ठीक है
I know that
तो
when
इसको हम करते अपन वॉल्यूम को थोड़ा करते भाई ये सेम ही क्वेश्चन घुमा फिरा के पूछ रहा है ये भाई साहब इसके मन में और कुछ नहीं आ रहा है दिमाग का अट्ठा हो गया तो गाइस और क्या देखना चाहते हो बोलो बोलो क्या करें हम एक ही सवाल का है ना भाई साहब घुमा फिरा के पूछ ही रहा है पूछ ही जा रहा है पूछ ही जा रहा है पूछ ही जा रहा है और कुछ है ही नहीं है चलो कंट्रोवर्सी लिमिटेड होगी हमारी एड just chatting stream guys चलो गेम चेक करते हैं मार्केट में कोई गेम है कि नहीं Steam का इस कैसे क्या Steam आ क्यों नहीं रहा है क्यों नहीं आ रहा है Steam नहीं दिख रही है कहीं पे स्टीम नहीं दिख रहा है गाइस, कच्चा चावल है। स्टीम तो दिखनी नहीं है। स्टीम नहीं दिख रही है, स्टीम नहीं दिख रही, स्टीम नहीं दिख रही। स्टीम नहीं दिख रहा है गाइस, एक्सट्रीमली सॉरी फॉर डैश। स्टीम का कट्टे स्टीम नहीं दिख रही है थोड़ी, आई एम सॉरी, स्टीम नहीं दिख रही है तो हम और कुछ नहीं कर सकते। तो हम क्या करें अभी, हम धीरे धीरे क्लोज हो रहे गए 100 मिलियन के पास, 100 मिलियन के वेरी क्लोज क्लोज क्लोज। वैसे मज़ा आया केस का थोड़ा देख के, क्योंकि थोड़ा बहुत हमको भी क्या सीखने को मिलता है ये सब चीज़ों से। इंग्लिश तो सीखने को मिल ही रहा है उससे, बट बेचारे जॉनी डेप के लग गए हैं, जॉनी डेप की लाइफ के लग गए। 50 मिलियन का डेफिनेशन खींच डाला, 50 मिलियन गाइस, 50 मिलियन समझ रहे हो, 50 मिलियन। मैं अपनी लाइफ में कभी 50 मिलियन नहीं देख पाऊंगा। तो इसका नुकसान तो बेचारे को बहुत हुआ है, वो तो है, नुकसान तो बहुत हुआ है उसका। नुकसान बहुत हुआ है उसका, क्योंकि उसने बहुत सारे वो भी खो दिए ना, कॉन्ट्रैक्ट्स और स्लोली स्लोली, तो नुकसान तो उसका बहुत सारा हुआ है। देखते बेचारे के साथ और क्या होने वाला है। हिटमैन अपने पास है इंस्टॉल में, इंस्टॉल एट सर्वर। गेम भी कोई अच्छी खासी आ नहीं रही है। Assassin, Watchmen, Watchdog 2 भी अच्छी है, बट क्लेसन कैसी है? क्लेसन बहुत खेल रहे हैं आजकल लोग। बैटलफील्ड बहुत महंगी महंगी है गेम में सब। टॉप सेलर देखते हैं क्या है। ओह 1000 की है ये। Game of the year. Game of the year. ठीक है भाई, चाइना वालों की गेम ऑफ द ईयर गेम में चाइनीज की गेम है इंडी गेम्स इंडी गेम भी बहुत सेलर Special. बहुत महंगी महंगी सब Christian किसी का रिक्वेस्ट आएगी रिक्वेस्ट तो किसी का नहीं है लॉबी स्टोर वॉच Botany free both free to pay.
Life's full of moments
Open
that feel
beta.
rushed. Like when you wake up on Monday morning and it's actually Monday afternoon. Don't wake up on the May 2nd tax deadline with your taxes unfiled. File with H&R Block. Life and taxes, we can help.
प्रभु सर आ गए थे देख रहे हो गाइस प्रभु सर अच्छा गेम अच्छा ये भी नहीं दिखेगा एपिक गेम में नहीं दिखेगा सॉरी ना एपिक गेम भी नहीं दिख रहा है Sorry for that. आपको मेरी शक्ल भी देखनी पड़ेगी अब के पास कोई ऑप्शन नहीं है yes interesting full puzzle है ये सब very interesting लग रही है गेम मेरा थोड़ा सा okay okay free to play सारी गेम के। Valorant. इसमें Optima. Demo. Game of the Demo. गेम तो है। गेम का पता पे ये सब चीजें मत दिखाओ। गेम ऑन सेल। गेम भी है सेल में भाई। फोर्टनाइट अभी थोड़ा सिस्टम इसका बदल गया। फोर्टनाइट अभी फोर्टनाइट में से वो सब हटा दिया ना, ये बहुत जगह बिल्डिंग सब कंस्ट्रक्टर का जो काम था वो सब हटा दिया। सेशन सेशन ठीक है। क्या प्रिंग 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 नींद आ रही है। ओके गाइस, चलो मैं थोड़ा जाता हूँ, थोड़ा काम, अब 1-2 मेल कर देता हूँ जॉब के लिए, है ना। 2-3 जगह पे मेल करना है। मेरा रिज्यूमे मेल कर देता हूँ वर्क के लिए, तो ज़्यादा बेटर रहेगा। चलो ठीक है, मिलते हैं। बाय, सी टेक केयर, गुड नाइट, पीस, लव यू। एंड मुझे नहीं पता ये एम्बर और जॉनी डेप में कौन जीतेगा, बट हम जॉनी डेप के साथ है क्योंकि मुझे लग रहा है वो सही है। ठीक है, आप अपना रिव्यू ज़रूर बताना, कमेंट में ज़रूर लिखना। नेक्स्ट टाइम लाइव वापस आएंगे हम, तो प्लीज़ सपोर्ट करना। और पता नहीं स्ट्रीम मतलब लाइव मेरा पसंद को आ रहा है कि नहीं, बट आई ट्राई माई बेस्ट, जितना हो सके उतना कर रहा हूँ और सीख भी रहा हूँ मैं लाइव करना। मैं प्रोफेशनल स्ट्रीमर नहीं हूँ या प्रोफेशनल नहीं हूँ, ये सब चीज़ों में थोड़ा सीख रहा हूँ मैं भी। तो कुछ एडवाइस हो या कुछ आपको लगता है मुझे इम्प्रूव करना चाहिए इस चीज़ में, जैसे लाइट हो गई, जैसे कैमरा हो गया, जैसे स्ट्रीम हो गई, गेमिंग हो गई। गेमिंग तो हम करेंगे बाद में, फिर आज नहीं कर रहा हूँ गेमिंग क्योंकि थोड़ा भी ख़राब है हमारा। तो यही। तो फिर से हम लाइव आएंगे। अभी थोड़ा मेल वेल कर देता हूँ, 2-3 जगह पे मेल करना है मुझे। मेरा डांस का तो हो गया है ऑलमोस्ट, ऑलमोस्ट क्या हो ही गया है अभी। बस अभी थोड़ा वर्क का थोड़ा है, वो ईमेल कर देता हूँ 1-2 जगह पे जॉब का, जो ईमेल मुझे आए हैं, तो मेरा काम ख़त्म हो जाए। थोड़ा सा रिलैक्स बैठे हम आज के दिन। ओके, तो तब तक के लिए बाय से, टेक केयर, गुड नाइट, पीस, लव यू। एंड अपने आसपास सबका ख्याल रखो, अपनी फैमिली का ख्याल रखो। कोविड अभी भी गया नहीं है, तो कोविड का भी ख्याल रखो। एंड ज़्यादा इधर उधर मत घूमो, जिससे घूम रहे हो तो कोई बात नहीं, बट हाँ अपनी फैमिली का ख्याल रखो, जिससे उनको कुछ प्रॉब्लम्स ना हो। तो चलो मिलते हैं नेक्स्ट स्ट्रीम में, एंड बाय।